We are this morning going to be talking a little something different, where we're going to be hearing from one of the ministry leaders of a mission that we partner with. And let me begin with a word of prayer, and then I'm kind of introduce it and introduce her. Father, I thank you for the privilege that we do have to be here this morning, Father, to worship you. Father, to also talk about some important issues that are facing us today. And Father, as a church, how do we understand and respond to that? I thank you for ministries like Pregnancy Solutions, Father, that is on the front lines of dealing with real life issues. Father, representing you well. Father, I pray your blessing in Jesus' name. Amen. Now, we're going to be talking about a ministry that deals with abortion. And because it's a difficult issue, I never want to just jump to a conclusion on that. I want to start by saying, how do we understand this whole issue of abortion from a biblical perspective? Earlier in the year, we did a series on Genesis and the beginning of Genesis and creation, and we saw in that series how God created man to be unique in all creation. Man alone is created in God's image with an eternal soul. See, from the other side, we looked at the evolutionary worldview, and it teaches that humans aren't unique. No, we're just the product of natural chance over time. And in our evolutionary past, we were literally slime. I mean, we're lucky slime that over time evolved to our present state. And so when you look at this, if you believe in evolution, then what's the value of humanity, of human life? What is the source of any rights? You see, if you look at this, there isn't a source. Why would you care for the sick or the needy or the elderly? But on the other hand, when you look at that, you say if the Bible teaches that God has created mankind as the culmination of his act of creation, giving him an eternal soul, then each person has value, each person has worth as an image bearer of the Almighty God. See, when we look at this whole question of abortion, that's at the core of what the debate is about, where the disagreement is. Does humanity have life? Are people more valuable than a dog or a bug? And if so, what makes us valuable? Where is the basis of our rights? From an evolutionary standpoint, see, they would really argue logically, people aren't that much different than animals or even bugs. And so when you look at that, the argument of abortion is essentially saying an unborn child is a less developed form of life. And so if you look at a bug, well, it's less developed as far as evolutionary. An unborn child is less developed as far as time and developed mentally and physically. And they would basically argue there's no innate value in that life. But a biblical perspective says that no, all humanity is created in God's image. All humanity has incredible rights and value because they're image bearers, regardless of the age, regardless of the state of development, regardless of whether we can see them or not, whether they're in the womb or not. And people will even try to argue around that. And they'll say, well, no, but abortion is a matter of a woman's right over her own body. And that's a deceptive argument at best. Because I would acknowledge, okay, a woman does have a right over her own body. And as part of that right, she can choose to engage or stay in a sexual relationship that might end up in a pregnancy. But once she becomes pregnant, the issue is no longer what she does with her own body. The issue is now, what does she do with that additional body, that baby, that other person that is growing inside of her? Because the baby is not part of the mom's body. It has its own heartbeat, it has its own brain waves, it has its own circulatory system, it often has a different blood type of the mother's, it has its own DNA, and the only thing that differentiates a little baby, weeks old, from a full-grown adult human being is time and nutrition. That's it. So the real question then is, what is the value of the unborn baby growing inside of her? And it is a person. From the moment of conception, it's a separate person. And what is the value? And the Bible is clear. The unborn, the preborn child is a living person who is a life created in God's image, is a person of great worth and great value that is to be protected. And as a church, we're called not only to talk about that, but to be engaged with women who are in unplanned pregnancies and help them to see that truth. So then the question is, how do we help a young woman facing a crisis pregnancy to understand the truth of the child growing inside of her? Because it's often unplanned. The pregnancy is often seen as a crisis, that not a welcome thing to a woman in that state. And so we need to meet her at that place of the crisis, help her to see the truth of the child, not preaching, not condemning, but in a sense, meeting the woman where they're at. And part of that is communicating not only through our words, but even through pictures. And that's one of the things that has just radically changed this whole discussion in the last few decades is the ultrasound, where we're able to actually take a woman and give her a picture inside of her womb and allow her to be able to see that baby that is developing. And what we find is when a woman sees the ultrasound, when they see the picture, they realize it's a baby, and suddenly the chance of them keeping that child is magnified. And so it's so important. Now that's why we have ministries like Pregnancy Solutions. It's a ministry that is there to minister to women, that is to meet women where they're at in that place of crisis, not only to help them see the life, save the life, ideally help them to see the spiritual need as well. And now it's a ministry I'm personally committed to. I actually got involved in a crisis pregnancy center at my very first church in West Palm Beach, Florida. I've been involved in a ministry like this ever since, for 35 years. When I came here to Akron, I got to know the director at that time of this ministry that's right across the street from us, and we just kind of shared. Again, my heart connected to this ministry. I've been on the board for over a decade now. So when we talk about a ministry I personally believe in it. I give my time. I'm committed to it. And so we're blessed to have Tameka Hale with us today. Tameka has been our director for about 2 years, and she's going to come and share with us. And I'm excited to not only for you to hear about the ministry, but Tameka's going to, start off by telling us how you got involved in this yourself. I mean, this is not like you didn't come from another ministry like this. You came out of banking, and yet God led you out of banking to this ministry. Let me ask and start to say, welcome, first of all, and tell us how you've gotten into this.
First, let me say thank you all for having me. I have been blessed by the first service and again by the worship of the second service, so thank you for having me today. I'm thankful for your church, your mission committee, all that you do to support us. It's how we continue to do what we do, along with the Lord's hand just touching our ministry. So I was in banking for a very long time. I had been at my current company for almost 12 years, and I made a decision in May of 2022 that I would leave my company and banking altogether. I didn't have a plan, but I said December 31st of 2022 was going to be my last day working in banking. No idea where I was going to go. It was truly me stepping out on faith and trusting God and praying because I wanted out of banking and I wanted to be able to do something more tangible in full-time ministry. I worked in my church. I was part-time staff there, but I wanted to do something else. And so one morning, I'm listening to Moody Radio. I listen to Moody almost every morning. I'm listening to Moody, but I turned my phone on at the tail end of a woman who was talking about this place at Akron. And I didn't catch the name. I didn't catch her name or the name of the organization. And so I just started Googling nonprofits in Akron. Well, that was ridiculous. Just so many things came up. I'm from Cleveland, so it seemed like, there'd only be a few. No, that didn't happen. So I said, okay, I'm kind of move on, but I'm thinking about it. The next morning, I'm climbing into the shower, and I literally hear the paid ad for Pregnancy Solutions, and they're looking for an executive director. So I jump out of the shower, grab a Post-it note, and I start to jot down the information that's coming across from the paid ad. So I'm driving to work, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, that's got to be it. I know that's what I heard, and I get to work, and I had to do some things, but it stayed there, and I said, I've got to reach out. I've got to figure out what this job is. So I reach out, I send an email to what I later find out is a board member and the interim director, and I say, hey, I heard the ad on the radio, and I'm looking to get a job description. And she said, okay. She sent me the job description in the email, and she said, if once you receive this job description, you're still interested, then send your resume. So I said, okay, all right, let me get this job description and see if this is where, I want to go. I get the job description, and the first thing on the job description, it was the name of the role. It was the role, and then it said, if you're a follower of Christ. And I said, oh, this might be my job. Never in my years in my career was that at the top of a job description, so I was super excited. So my really good friend works with me, and I hand her the job description, and she said, that's it. That's where God is sending you. And I said, okay, we'll see. I get my resume together. I send it off, and I interview with her. Darcy wanted to set up an interview with me, and I said, okay, this is great. She said, we can do it virtually. I said, no, I want to come and see this place that I think God is calling me to. And so I drive down, and it's a 45-minute drive for me. So I drive down, and I interview with her, and I thought the interview went well. And I said, okay, we'll see what happens. And she called me a little bit later, I think after she talked to the rest of the board, and she said, I think we should bring her back or whatever. And I come back for the interview. And the crazy thing about how God has moved in my life, my entire life, is I was not feeling well for the day of the interview. So I went to my normal job as scheduled. And as I'm driving to work, I'm not feeling well. Didn't know what it was, but I just had this weird, like I needed to go back and get into bed. But I went on to work and was there maybe an hour, sent a message to my boss, and I said, hey, I'm not feeling well. I need to go home. So I go home, I climb in the bed, and I set my timer so that I could get up in time, hopefully to feel better, to drive to do the interview with the entire board. I get up, I get dressed, still not feeling well. I'm praying the whole drive. I'm just, Lord, give me what I need, help me feel better. I get to the lobby, and I start to feel better. In the interview, I was fine. I get out of the interview, I think it went well, I'm driving home, and I start to feel sick 15 minutes into my drive, like, what is happening? I crawl in the bed, and I'm fast asleep, and my husband happens to be in the basement working out, and I get a call from Darcy. She wakes me up. I say, uh-oh, so you try to not do your sleepy voice. I say hello, and she said, we'd like to offer you the job. And I said, what? Okay, that fast? She said, you sound like I woke you up. I said, yeah. I run down to the basement. I tell my husband, I said, they just called and offered me the job. He said, well, I guess that's where you're going, right? Now, what I didn't share in the first service is my husband has been on his job almost 30 years. So for me to change careers this late in life was like, okay, you're trusting God, I'm trusting God with you. Because it was a scary thought to leave comfort and to step into something that I asked for but not know what I was asking for. So the important thing about not only being called, feeling as if God just plucked this out for me, because they had been looking for a director for a little bit of time, and not only feeling like this is where he called me to be, but understanding that I had my own connection to an unplanned pregnancy. So I was in my early 20s, and I found myself in an unplanned pregnancy. I was working. I had a friend who also found herself pregnant at the same time, and my friend says to me, I'm going to go to the abortion clinic. You should come with me. And I said, abortion clinic? What is that? What are you talking about? And I was kind of naive about abortion, and it just didn't register to me. And I got there, and it was as if I was not part of the appointment. It's like I was watching it from the outside of the appointment. I couldn't wrap my mind around it, but I said, okay, this is what we do here. And they told me I had to come back, that there was like a waiting period. So I go home, and in those 3 days, the appointment was on Friday. In those 3 days, I prayed so hard just to figure out which direction to go. And that morning, around 3 a.m., I woke up and I heard as clear, God said, I gave you a gift. And I said, okay, I'm not gonna make that appointment. I got dressed, I went to work, and carried on about my day as usual. That gift is 29 years old. That gift is a God-fearing young woman. That gift is a nurse who unapologetically prays over her patients in a major hospital in Cleveland. That is not the norm, but she does it daily. She does it whenever she has the opportunity, of course, with their permission, but sometimes outside the door without their permission. And so just because I made a different choice, made a different decision, I felt like I could be a help to the women that we serve, because I understood that sinking feeling, that feeling of shame, of all the people I would disappoint, the guilt, and what to do with this baby that I had totally not prepared for. And so I'm able to share parts of my story with the women that we serve because I understand their feelings. And just because I made a different decision, I don't want to judge them, because I want them to feel loved. I want them to feel supported, because we all have something. We're all struggling with something. And that just doesn't happen to be my struggle, but those are their struggles. And so we look to support them in those struggles. I have a couple of videos that I want to share.
Let me just for a moment, because it's wonderful to hear how God redeemed your story. Mm-hmm. And it's not only your daughter, and to see how, this child that was a problem and that you almost made a decision to abort now, and you can appreciate that gift. But also how God is taking that, redeeming it now to minister to other women. Mm-hmm. I do want to mention that, that one of the things that, the reality is we'll try to get churches to talk about this ministry and this issue, and a lot of them don't. Mm-hmm. And I know one of the reasons that a lot of them don't is that in any church, including our church, we have numerous women here who have had an abortion. And as a pastor, a lot of times it's like, I don't want to talk about that. It's going to offend people. It's going to open up wounds. And so we avoid it. Mm-hmm. And I really believe it's very important for us to talk about this, not only from a standpoint of here's biblical truth, but even for those who have that scar, that have that guilt, that there might be some that are here. Maybe God has you point online, and God's brought you here because you need to hear this. Mm-hmm. And the fact is, right now, you almost want to run away from this. This is painful. And if it's painful, it's because it's a wound that's not healed.
Yes.
And God is not trying to expose it to condemn you. He's exposing it so that he can try to bring healing. And the fact is that God's grace extends even to abortion. Mm-hmm. And you've got to look at it and say, I think of the scene of Jesus on the cross, where he looks at the people who are murdering him and says, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. And if God can forgive those who murdered him, there's no sin that is too great. And you need to hear that. If you're there, and I know people who have for decades have carried that wound in shame, and you haven't even admitted it to their spouse. Mm-hmm. And you need to hear that God's grace is sufficient. And you need to know God's grace and forgiveness. And this might be God kind of exposing this so that you don't run away, but that you actually seek help and let us be a place of healing.
Absolutely. And let us at Pregnancy Solutions be a place of healing. We look to help our women, men, because men are also impacted by this. We have seen several men come in and they're just as hurt because the decision was made without them. And so we want to support. If we can't support you, we send you somewhere where they will wrap their arms around you and they will love you. We have a church that we partner with because they happen to start a group at our request, which we're very thankful for. But we don't want you to walk through the door and feel that we're going to judge you because you've had an abortion in the past and now you're pregnant again. We want you to know that we see you, we hear you, we love you, and we just want to offer hope and love every time that you come through the door. So it doesn't matter to us. God has forgiven that. We've forgiven that. We want you to come in and know that we're going to love you and we're going to support you. And we try to do that. Even on our worst days, we try to do that.
Yeah. Now, I know that people look at that and say, what's this ministry? Practically, how does it work? And that's where I know one of the videos is just trying to help people to understand what this ministry actually does, what happens when a woman walks in.
Yes. So that video that we're going to show you just walks you through what a typical appointment looks like when you enter the pregnancy center. So if we could play the video.
I'm excited to share with you a day in the life of Pregnancy Solutions. Once our client arrives, she checks in at the front desk, where she is then asked to complete forms prior to her appointment. Once those forms are complete, an advocate will come and get the client and bring her back to our medical suite. Once in the medical suite, the client will then leave a urine sample, which the medical team will run a pregnancy test on. As that test is being processed, the advocate will get to know the client and see how she is feeling regarding the pregnancy. The sonographer will then come out and go over the client's medical history, offer STI testing, and go over the results of the pregnancy test. If the results are positive and the client is far enough along, then the sonographer will bring the client back for her ultrasound. During the ultrasound, multiple pictures are obtained, both for the doctor and for the client to take home with her. After the ultrasound is complete, the advocate will go over any specific resources the client may need. The sonographer also comes out and goes over any medical resources she may need. These include OBGYN referrals, prenatal vitamins, and pregnancy guidelines. After the appointment is complete, the advocate will give the client a tour of McKenna's Corner, which is our baby boutique here at the center. Here at McKenna's Corner, we offer new to gently used baby clothes, baby items, diapers, and wipes. Here at Pregnancy Solutions, we offer a variety of supportive services to our clients, and we hope they continue to be in relationship with us.
So in the video, it shows you what a client's medical appointment looks like from beginning to end. Also with the services that we provide. So let me go back just a little bit. Over the last year, I've tried to create community partnerships so that we have some place to send our clients no matter what their need is. One of my first priorities was to connect with OBGYNs in the area. We can only take them so far, and some of our families do not know where to go for care. So I have partnered with a couple of the OBGYNs in the area that take them. So in that bag that you saw in the video is a list of OBGYNs that we have had communication with, and they know that we're going to send our clients there, and they're okay with it, and they love on and take care of our clients. So from medical appointments to food insecurity, whatever the resource may be, we look to have a partner that we can connect with. We recently partnered with Open M to make sure that we could send our clients there. So we're not just, please keep your baby and see you next time. We want to make sure that you have all the support from beginning to end that helps you feel good about the decision that you're making.
And I know that's a part of a lot of women that will choose abortion. It's often because they don't know how to. Mm-hmm. They don't know how they're going to pay for it. They don't know where the resources are. And so they feel overwhelmed. And part of that, here we can help you do it.
Yes.
Is really vital in helping even them make that decision.
Yes. And we're happy that we get to partner with a lot of the agencies because it's taught us a lot. Over the last year, I've shared this statistic for the last couple of weeks that we have had 32 changed hearts and decision lives over the last year. So 32 women have come in and decided, I'm not keeping this baby. And then after they've sat with us a couple of times, they've decided that they're going to parent their babies. I have a couple of stories to share.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, and that's amazing. It's, again, women that were on the, headed towards abortion. And we would hear all kinds of news. If you have one child that is, and all this resources to save this life of this 1 2-year-old, and these are 32 that were on the road to abortion who have chosen life.
Yes.
32 lives that are being saved.
Absolutely.
Just this year. Yeah.
On the road and determined. We had a mom who is 40 years old. She had an 18-year-old. She came into us, and because I understood the unplanned pregnancy, she pulled into, if you know where our building is, we have parking spots that are closer to the front, and then we have some that are in the back. She pulled all the way into the back spots near the dumpster. She was in a hat, sunglasses. She wanted the last appointment in the evening, and she came in, and she was just, you could feel it the minute you connected with her, that she just had this guilt and this shame, and she felt stupid. These were her words, not mine. She said, I feel stupid that this has happened to me at this age, and I should know better. And she told me that her mom would not support her. She was afraid that her mom would not support her, that she would judge her. And I said, well, that's not going to happen here. Let's figure out what the next steps are. And I shared earlier that I sometimes am the client advocate. I love that role when, especially on the days when I'm not feeling my best, it blesses me to be able to sit with the client. But this was one I really did not want to do. I prayed for the courage, but somebody else took the appointment because I knew it was going to be tough. And in that appointment, she shed tears. She was able to share more in detail her feelings in the relationship with the father of the baby, which was also having an impact because what I forgot to mention last time was that he had given her $400 to have an abortion. So she was well on her way. She had 2 Planned Parenthood appointments that she did not keep because it happened that we called her on the day of the appointments. We had been trying to reach her. She didn't answer, and she answered on those 2 calls. And she came to us. She got 3 ultrasounds from us, and that baby is either already born or will be here the end of this month or beginning of November. So that's just one very difficult story where she was determined she wasn't going to have this baby, but needed to have the ultrasound to see how far along she was. One of our moms was on her way to prison. She didn't know if she was going to get an 8-year sentence or a 3-year sentence or a 5-year sentence. And so she came to us really in a very tough spot, and she said, I'm not having this baby. I want to know how far along I am. I'm not going to have a baby in prison. Forget about it. You people are not going to change my mind. It was a really tough situation because she said, I know you all believe in Jesus. I don't care about that. I just want the ultrasound. And I said, well, okay, honey, it's okay. We'll get you the ultrasound, but we want to just figure out what else you need. And so she calmed down a little bit and we talked through it. She saw the ultrasound. She cried when she saw the ultrasound. And we didn't expect her to cry because of the way she came in. She had this really tough exterior. And we were like, oh, it's going to be a tough nut to crack or, hard to reach. And she melted when she saw that baby, but she left there and she said, I still can't do it. I still can't have a baby in prison. So a couple of months go by, we were still trying to reach out to her. Her sentencing was supposed to happen 4 days after we saw her. And it turned out there was a continuance because something happened with one of the lawyers that they had to ask for a continuance. So I said, God is moving. So that night we prayed for her. It happened to be a Thursday night. We were all there. We prayed for her as she was leaving. And she didn't go to prison 4 days later. She got a continuance and she came back to us for another ultrasound. So with that second ultrasound, she said, okay, I talked to my sister. I might keep this baby, but I'm glad I got to come back and have a second ultrasound. I said, okay, we're making progress here. It's working. She was scheduled to go to prison, went to prison. She called us before she turned herself in. They gave her 3 years. She said, I promise I'm going to be good. I'm only going to do 18 months because I'm going to get out on good behavior. And my sister's going to keep the baby while I'm there. And so we have had very, very tough cases, not the simple, I was on the fence. They were determined to make a different decision. And we are just thankful that we were able to be there to support them in their decision to choose life. So that's just 2 of the tough ones. And there are a lot of them that are tough. So we have another video. Okay, and more stories. Yeah, which is wonderful. We have another. Well, we can show the next video now.
Yep, that sounds
If
good.
we can do the story video.
My name's Tristan. This is my wife Marley, and we're the Pursleys.
And this is our baby girl Lola. She was born September 21st, 2024. I found Pregnancy Solutions when I was pregnant with our first baby, and I came here for care and got confirmation of pregnancy. And then around 8 weeks, we experienced a miscarriage, and Pregnancy Solutions already had us booked for the parenting classes. So I had to call and tell them that unfortunately we would not be in those classes. And they not only talked to me on the phone, offered care that way, but they also sent us a whole gift box to our home so that we knew they were thinking about us while we were grieving. It included a really sweet prayer book that walked you through loss, and it paired grief, loss, tragedy with scripture, so you could see that for all of time, people have been healing and grieving and growing. So we read through that. There was a stuffed animal bear that we kept. I think there was some like little treats and candies and fun things in it. And then a little note from them saying that, hey, we're here if you need us.
I don't know, just the thought behind it and the actual, again, like sincerity and like human aspect of it was awesome to see from people we don't know.
I remember thinking, why would I go anywhere else? Like, we knew after our loss that both Pregnancy Solutions and our friend Jody, like, were the only people we would trust to walk us through another pregnancy. So when I learned I was pregnant again, actually one of the first things I did was look up what was going on at Pregnancy Solutions to make sure that we could be involved in something here and that we didn't like miss the window, because they do it at different times during the year. So yeah, after we received that care package, we knew we wanted to come back for sure. I think it just goes to show that they don't just want you to walk in here and do classes and leave. They want you to come and feel loved and held and welcomed and seen, whether you're here for 2 weeks or 9 months.
Hi, my name is Abraham Colon. This is my wife, Sarah.
And we're having a baby girl here in a few weeks. The due date's October 27th, and her name's gonna be Isabella Lynn. Yeah, when we found out we were pregnant, we were very excited and also like, wow, we have so much to learn. So we don't really have a lot of family that had a lot of parenting advice for us, or we didn't have a lot of people in our lives that are like newly about to be parents. And so we thought taking some classes would be helpful for us. And we liked that there was a variation of classes available that we could kind of learn some information from. So we didn't really know too much about this place when we first came, but we really appreciated everyone's hospitality and learning the things we did and the people in the class that we were a part of. So
like when you attend the class, they give you points for attending the class, and then you use those points for different things. Like in here, you don't pay money for any of this stuff, which is nice. This stuff is available to you for no money. You just need the points for attending the classes and stuff. And you can use some of those points to get a newborn photo shoot after the baby's born. And so it's really nice because photographers are expensive. And to get some nice newborn photos would be awesome.
And we did find out once we started coming that they have a newborn kit that they give out once you have the baby. You can come in and get like a basket of newborn items. So we didn't know a lot of this till we started coming, and we're like, oh wow, like that. We just thought there were classes that we were gonna be attending and learning, and we really didn't know that there was gonna be more involved. So it was really nice to get plugged into a place like this with Pregnancy Solutions and learn the things we learned. It definitely gave us a lot of peace of mind and opened up really great conversations to have, and they really care about the family and the baby coming, and I feel like it has put us a step forward in our journey. I feel more at peace and like better equipped to handle our baby to come in October 27th. So yeah, we're really excited.
Hi, I'm Tristan Clark. I have 5 children. Aurora, she's 17. Sophia is 12. David is 10. Noah is 4, and Jonah will be 2 in January. So a whole wide Brady bunch, I guess. So when finding out that we were having another child and already having 4 other children, we were kind of like really nervous about it. Adding a 5th child to the mix is a very big thing. So when we found out that we were having another child, we were kind of like, okay, so we already know how to take care of a baby, but the financial part was the big struggle for us. Where are we going to get diapers from? How are we going to get them? Where's formula and stuff going to come from? So that's where we were kind of at. We were really nervous about that. So when we came in, they really made us feel at ease here about, don't worry, we got your back. You know, really awesome. We had just moved to Barberton, so we were super new to the area, not really knowing any of our surroundings or anything. Moving to an area that you don't really know or have anybody in is really hard because you don't feel like you have anywhere to express yourself or have a shoulder to lean on. And when one of the ladies had sat down and spoke with me, she told me about this mom's program at a church around the corner from here, Community Church of Portage Lakes. And she told me that they had like really great connections there and help for moms. And that's kind of what drew us to that church. So finding this place and it helping us find our church was a really great thing because it made us have connections. We were able to not only speak to some of the ladies here and them help us with things, but when we found our church, I was able to make friendships and connections there, which were really great.
Yeah, that's so important that I know, people will attack those who are pro-life and they'll say, well, you just, you don't care about the woman, you just care. And we've got to care for the whole person. To love, a lot of people will make a decision against, for abortion because they don't know how to take care of the details. And not only that, but then caring for the person, really loving the life, not only the baby, but the mom, the family. And what a great example of how this ministry is doing that.
It's so important for us to not only care for them there, but like I said, build our community partnerships and build our church partnerships. I saved that for the end. We have a list of churches, north, south, east, and west, that we share with our clients because we want them plugged in somewhere. We want to support them in finding their church family and planting themselves somewhere where they can continue to feel loved and supported if they make the decision to parent and they're on their own. We want them to have a community. And so having Pastor Mike on my board, having Community Church of Portage Lakes around the corner, being able to just call and say, hey, I need to send somebody, it's always a great feeling to have that partnership. So in the videos, you can see that we don't just do ultrasounds and say, hey, we want you to keep your baby. Yes, we make it perfectly clear when our clients come in that we are a Christian organization and that we love Jesus. Yes, we want you to parent, but we're not going to beat you over the head and say, you must do this. What we're going to say is, this is valuable. This is a baby. And so let us support you. Let us walk you through this. Let us walk through what it looks like. After that, we have a baby boutique that has been remodeled over the last few months. And it was a gift from a family. And our parents get to go back there. And it was important to me that our families feel good when they're shopping. It was not only here are some things that we can give you. Here are some very nice things. Here's a really nice place to come. Here's some place where you can sit, nurse your baby if you have to, take a deep breath. We wanted the space to be comfortable and not just tables with plastic bins on them. And I think there is a little oasis back there that sometimes I escape to. And so we want to do all that we can to support mom, dad, and the children, and not just say, hey, we want you to keep your baby, and after 18 months to 2 years, we don't know what to do with you. We have moms that continue to come back when their kids are 5 and 6. Sometimes they want a Bible. I stay stacked with Bibles, and so we are constantly giving out Bibles, mom devotions, dad devotions. So we have stacked our arsenal to do the things that God has called us to do over there. And it's not just to help people understand that we want to rescue your baby. It's to help you understand that we're here to support you.
And there's also, in the first service, we had somebody share that was from Indonesia. And you might be like, man, I love that ministry. How can I be involved? Well, other than supporting financially, it's kind of hard to go to Indonesia on the weekend to help. This ministry is right across the street.
Yes.
And there's a lot of opportunities if you're interested to be involved.
Yes.
Not only financially, but
on a volunteer basis. So we always need hands, right? We always need hands for gardening, maintenance, you name it, bookkeeping, reception. Our baby boutique can always use someone to assist back there. So anything you can think of that's necessary to run a business, then we need that support. It's not just financial. And I believe that if there's a tug at your heart and you want to figure out how to get involved, then call us or stop over, take a tour and see if God has called you there.
And I'll tell one extra thing that I didn't mention in the first service, I should have. One of the ways that we're involved is you've got to be aware not only of the issue of but this ministry. And I can tell you of numerous people who were in our church and they had somebody in their sphere of influence that became pregnant. And they were able to tell them about pregnancy solutions and direct them there. Yes. And so indirectly, whether it's family members, friends, coworkers, that at that crisis pregnancy center to say, oh, here's a resource. Yes. And they've sent them to the ministry and that led to a decision for life. And so all of us are, God's representatives. This is a resource that is important for you to realize. And it's one of the ways that you can be involved in people's lives at that moment of crisis.
If you have a question about the message, Community Church, or Jesus Christ, send us a text to 330-400-3242. You can learn more about our events and community groups at ccpl.life/connect. There you can also send in a prayer request. We would love to pray for you. Have a blessed Lord's Day, and we'll see you on Sunday.